This is the most underrated BMW ever built, and you probably never gave it any chance to prove itself. So if you're now wondering what this even is, I'm here to help you. And I also want to tell you how this car is better and cheaper than you would ever expect, and why I think that it deserves way more attention than it actually gets. Alright, to unveil the mystery, it's a BMW 6 Series. Specifically the second gen, which is called E63, and they were built from 2003 to 2010. So they are a little older by now, but that doesn't really matter, to be honest. I mean, they still look pretty modern, but it might just be the weirdest looking BMW ever made. But I'd argue that it actually looks good somehow. I mean, the rear end is just sexy, because it's beefy, it's big, but it's still kept super simple. The side profile is going a similar route, being simply elegant and clean. So like if you look at it, there's, I don't know, nothing to complain about, I guess. But then just the front is a bit strange. I mean, how I see it, the car kind of looks tired, sad, and you could also call it kind of a dead look. I don't know if that makes any sense, but with an aftermarket bumper, I at least think that they can look really good. And I think that they overall look quite elegant actually, because they have this kind of simple sophistication. Though it's still up to preference, so I don't know. So comment down below how you like it. But once we jump on the inside, they just look really nice, because the interior aged super well. I mean, yeah, of course, it looks just like the 5 Series of their time, the E60, because it's basically the same car. I mean, they share the platform, a lot of the engines, and most of the tech actually. And that's a great thing, because that brings some reliability into the 6 Series. And let me tell you, there are some really insane engine options. So let me get you at least a rough overview over them. Sounds alright to you? Well, then let's go ahead. You can get these cars with 3-liter inline 6s that put out about 260 to 280 horsepower, and I would call them the most responsible choice you can make, because those are pretty reliable engines. And essentially, you can never go wrong with a BMW inline 6. And in these cars, you can actually get one as a diesel too, which is like the most responsible decision you can make, because as these cars are quite heavy, you're gonna save yourself a lot of money on gas. And like the only negative points about the inline 6s are that they are slower than a V8 and don't sound as good. And what I really like about these cars is that they come as a manual or automatic. So if you like the feel of driving a manual car, which I personally very enjoy, you have the option. But you can also just focus on the luxury of this car by taking the automatic. And to be honest, this is one of the cars where I wouldn't blame anyone for picking the automatic. Because I get if you want to enjoy the luxury. But if you don't want the easy decision, the smart decision, the basic engine, you can take a 4.4 or 4.8 liter V8. Those then produce about 330 to 370 horsepower, and I would call them the fun machine, because those are just sick. You get great sound, great power, great fun, so you can make noises, speed around, and just enjoy driving your car. And even with the V8s, you can take a manual or automatic transmission, which is again great in an actual luxury car. But the 350 horsepower manual coupe, I'll take one. And these engines are also alright in reliability, but they do have some quirks and issues, like any German V8. So if you want to get one, I think you should plan some money for maintenance. So like, I don't know, have 2 grand sitting around for your car, because you will probably need it at some point. But the big bonus you get from the V8 cars is that you can still make your grandpa proud, because you can have fun in them, but you can still drive slow and sensible, though you can't do that in the M6. I mean, technically you can, but like, why should you? Because if you have a 5-liter V10 straight up turning you into an asshole, making 500 horsepower, spreading eargasms, drift smoke and going fast as fuck, I feel like it's almost reasonable to not drive slowly. But seriously, the V10 sounds incredible. Though they might make you go broke, because there are quite a few problems that you can have with these V10s. And while you can upgrade these engines, or essentially their weak spot, to not have them blow up at some point, that's still gonna cost you a lot of money. And with the M6, you can also only have an SMG transmission, so like these flappity click-clack pedals. And those are not the most reliable, allegedly. So I would advise you to get a good connection to a psychiatrist, because you might go nuts looking at the money you spend on gas, services and general maintenance. But like fun aside for a moment, these engines can be rather solid if they are well maintained and properly serviced, though this is very expensive on these engines, because that's the only generation of this V10 out there. So you might have a very good time with your V10 because it doesn't break, or you're unlucky and it just blows up on you. And as I mentioned just a second ago, there are upgrade parts for the weak spots of this engine, and I seriously think they are worth the money, because they might save you a lot of money in repairs and also save you some of the headaches. But if you want to get the full details about these engines, so like torque figures, exact horsepower numbers, just look them up on Wikipedia, because it will take a lot of time reading everything out. And if you're seriously interested in an M6, you can find every little detail about these engines and the issues they can have by just researching them, and you should definitely look up sources more credible than an 18-year-old kid. Thank me later. And in general, these cars are super versatile, because you can still go fast with an inline 6 and you can actually drive chill with the V10. And regardless of which one you take, they are super luxurious and comfortable all of the time. And I actually think that they make up for a super cool daily driver, because they have a decent sized trunk, actually usable rear seats, so you can literally fit people into them, which is always nice in a big coupe. So these cars are kind of practical, and from what I think, that's all you need in a daily. I mean, sure, there are more practical cars out there, but on a daily basis going from A to B, why would you need more space? The E63 6 Series also handles rather well, even though they are quite heavy and just pretty big cars in general. So they are not great on gas mileage, which you should have expected, I think. And while their size isn't great for parking, it shouldn't really be a problem. And after all of this, you might say, yeah, cool car bro, but it's gotta be expensive as fuck. But as I teased in the beginning of this video, they are cheaper than you would ever think, because you can get pretty decent ones for about 6k already. And the first ones you can buy start in the like 3 or 4 grand range. And of course, a great example is gonna cost you more like 8 to 10k, and you can always buy one for more than 30 grand if you want to. But if you don't want to spend too much, I don't think you need to spend more than 7 grand on one. But why are they so cheap? And the answer is actually quite simple. The 6 Series always was one of the less popular BMWs out there, because it takes a weird position in their lineup. Because it's still a luxury car, but if you want the highest luxury, you take a 7 Series. And if you want to drive your car, you take a 3 or 5 Series. And sadly, that's also why they discontinued these cars by now. And with this generation of these cars, they just are older, count as a luxury car, and not too many people actually want to buy one. Some are scared of high maintenance, because at that age, things like seals and suspension parts just wear out, and it's actually hard to tell how a previous owner treated this car. And also because of the age, replacement cars can be a bit more expensive, so that also might scare some people away. Oh yeah, but dude, insurance? And well, I get you. It's a very complicated topic and depends on a lot of stuff. So while I can't give you any exact numbers because it's different for every second person out there, but from what I've seen, it's not cheap. Though I wouldn't say it's too bad. But don't quote me on this please, because I didn't look around too much at it. And if I were to buy one of these cars, I personally would pick a manual V8 and look at examples around the 5 to 6k range. So I can get a rather decent one that might need some work, but that should be doable. But I would definitely go that extra step and buy an aftermarket bumper and then either try painting it myself or get some help by, well, people I know that can paint. So in the end, it will cost me like less than $1,000 to get the bumper situation fixed up, and I think it's worth the money because otherwise the front is just not my thing. And with the right bumper, I would actually call them beautiful. I get that it's not for everyone, but that's my opinion at least. And I myself would actually be super happy to own and drive one of these super special cars. But since I don't have the money for one, it doesn't really matter right now. Though I really want to get one at some point. Because I actually really like the styling of them, especially on the rear and the interior. And I also think that they offer you great value for your money, which is something a lot of new cars don't do anymore. But if you now would like to learn about a different car, which I actually think is way cooler than the 6 Series, check out this video next. So on that note, bye!